Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. I want to start this video by asking a favor of you, the viewer. Can you do me a favor and please share this video somewhere on your social media page? If you make YouTube videos, please will you mirror this video? And for the record, you are welcome to mirror any of my videos anytime. All of my videos are free to take. None of these videos are for profit. They're all put out here to spread the information. So if you want to help spread it, I'm grateful. And, in the 2+ years that I've been making videos, plus the additional year of having the blog that I worked on every day that I still work on, I've wanted a piece of work that I've created to get 1 million views. And I can't tell if any of my views are real for my YouTube channel or my blog, but the most documented views for any one piece of work, at least what the counts say, is 150,000. And to me that's unfortunate because this information I'm putting out, it has the power to awaken, to change lives, to put an end to the madness, which is the goal, to help everybody see through this show that we, the people of this world, are being drugged through. This show is meant to torment us, divide us, provoke us, anger us. That is why Donald Trump is about to become the 45th president. And as I've been saying, I put out a video February of 2016. I said why it made the most sense for Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States based on what our government and our mainstream media are doing to us the last few years. If you are not privy to what is going on right now, we are living out a planned agenda. And that agenda, well, to understand that agenda, you have to know where you live if you're a citizen of the United States of America. You live in a military war empire, a nation that began with a genocide. The native people who once lived on this continent have been exterminated for the most part. This nation, ever since its creation, it has been pretty much at war. I think from the beginning of the United States up to the present, it's only 22 years that we haven't been at war. Don't quote me on 22, but it's in the 20s. Almost every single year of our existence, we've been at war with somebody. The reason that is so is because this nation was created out of an agenda. People with a plan to rule, to become powerful, to become wealthy. People that controlled banks and industry. This nation has been run by a gang from the beginning. And what we call that gang at this day and age is Zionism, which is essentially Jewish superiority, believing that everybody else are lessers, essentially meant to be a slave race. The people who are controlling this world, they are Zionist banker tyrants. They are Freemasons. They abide by occult esoteric knowledge, Freemasonry, pride themselves on being the keepers of knowledge, being aware of things such as gematria, which we're going to talk about, the practice of coding numbers into words. Let me tell you in detail why Barack Obama was in Berlin, Germany today, November 17th, 2016, to talk about the future President Donald Trump and why we need to remain in NATO. Donald Trump has threatened to leave NATO. Today, Obama, Angela Merkel in Berlin, Germany, talking about, the significance of NATO. It's why it's essential. And also talking about, keeping relations good with Russia. We're getting these, worldwide media propaganda headlines, beating up these unnecessary tensions, giving everyone the thoughts of war. And again, we are living out a planned agenda, a planned script, all along the way full of war. It's been foretold that there will be a third world war, and it will be between Christianity and Islam. And in the 21st century, with September 11th happening right at the beginning, we've seen what's going on worldwide. After September 11th, it was Spain, the trains. It was London on 7/7/7. Remember, order out of chaos in Jewish gematria sums to 777. We had those 777 London bombings. If you haven't seen my work on that, seven's coded all over the place. There's been so much, there's been what's gone on in Paris, France, Northern Africa, nonstop terrorism stories for the 21st century, and mostly creating this Islamic threat from the Middle East to the United States to Europe to Africa. So anyhow, here we are, it's November 17th, 2016. We're living in this world where the propaganda, it becomes more fast, more furious each day. The stories become more outrageous. Here we are talking about Donald Trump, TV celebrity, actor, the latest actor to ascend to the White House. Why is this happening today? Why is Barack Obama talking about NATO and world relations and avoiding world war in Germany, which has been the heart of World War I and World War II? Think about it. Here in the United States, they don't teach us much about World War I, because if we learned about World War I, then we'd have more of a clue about the lies we've been told about World War II. For people who don't know, when World War I began, the United States people were on the side of Germany. A lot of German immigrants. What happened was something was written called the Balfour Declaration, written by a Rothschild, the banking Zionist family. And essentially what it was saying if the United States joins the war on behalf of the United Kingdom against Germany, the Zionist state of Israel will be delivered. And, Israel, they use the Seal of Solomon, known as the Star of David, for their flag. If you look at our currency going back to the same time World War I broke out, they were already putting that symbol, Seal of Solomon, Star of David, on the dollar bill, on the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve was created, then the World War, That's what it is. Banking benefits from war, because war is big money, big business, big loans, which means big interest. And banks, how do they make their money? Fees and interest. So anyway, the promise of Israel, this Zionist Jewish state, that's why the United States went to war against Germany. That's World War I. Then there was the break. Then there was World War II and the big boogeyman against the Jewish people. And because of him, then they had to create Israel. That's how they teach it to us in the United States, as if it's all from what happened in World War II. They leave out that whole component of the agreement for why we even went to fight in World War I. And also what they did in the time of World War I is they told all the people here, once they flipped the propaganda, they told the people of the United States over and over in their papers that the leader of Germany was the Antichrist. Mostly a Christian population. They were told that the leader of Germany was the Antichrist. And a lot of people were willing to go to war to fight the Antichrist. Taking advantage of the population based on their understanding of the world. So, anyway, here's Obama on this specific date. We're going to get to why this date's so special, November 17th. I just want you to think about something. World War in gematria sums to 114. So does Pearl Harbor. So does Holocaust. So does Trump card. Here's Donald Trump elected the president in the time of this hit TV show in the United States about the White House called House of Cards. What the U.S. is, a big Ponzi scheme. Donald Trump's, a hot air balloon, and so is this nation. President of the United States also equals 114, and here we are at the end of the 114th Congress. So 114, very specific number to World War. Donald Trump fitting right in. Here's what's going on with today. Today is November 17th. It's the day that leaves 44 days left in the year. 44 is the number. Today's date also has 44 numerology. 44 numerology. And they're talking about NATO, which was established in history on April 4th, 1949. after World War II concluded. World War II ended in 1945. Donald Trump, the 45th president. Remember, Berlin Wall equals 45, a symbol in history that reminded of the war of the past. Berlin Wall equals 45. Donald Trump announced the 45th president on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. But 4-4, April 4th, 44, military's 44, officer 44, trooper 44, kill 44, genocide 44. Don't forget, this nation began with the genocide of the native people. Berlin Wall, gematria 45. So look at this. Donald Trump, he was announced the 45th president on November 9th, this anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Donald in Jewish gematria equals 119. November 9th, Donald Trump announcement. Remember what's significant about this number. All-seeing eyes, Star of David, master plan. Very much like the numbers for September 11th, Donald Trump in New York, in Manhattan, where the World Trade Centers fell. Donald Trump in his 2000 book predicted Osama bin Laden would have a massive terrorist attack against the United States relatively soon. He wrote that in the book was published January 15th, 2000. He references the World Trade Centers, the 93 bombing. With regards to 119, The Simpsons predicted Donald Trump presidency. Springfield, the town in The Simpsons, we'll talk more about that prediction in a moment. Again, 11-9, anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Donald Trump made president on November 9th. If you haven't seen my video on the Serta mattress commercial where Donald Trump's talking about sheep and the conversation is about born for the job, look at this scene right here. He's wearing this outfit, which is exactly what he wore on election night, the same tie. And in the hallway, there's two sheep with numbers, an 11 back here and a 9 right here. This came out in 2010. Born for the job, Donald, 119. You know, this is called predictive programming. This is called being mocked. If you have not seen my video on all the years of sitcom, movie, and commercial predictive programming for Donald Trump's presidency, I'll link that video in the description. There's a lot more to this story. Donald Trump, of course, is running on building a wall between the United States and Mexico. Donald Trump, 48, Wall 48. So real quick, here's what you need to know. Donald Trump, in gematria, in simple English, sums to 138, in Pythagorean 48 like wall. 138 is interesting in regards to the Berlin Wall because construction began August 13th, 1961. August 13th can be written 13/8, a lot like 138. You see? From Inauguration Day this year, January 20th, 2017 to May 18th, that is 119 days from Inauguration Day to May 18th. And the reason May 18th is significant is because it's the 138th day of the year. Donald Trump, 138. Berlin Wall construction began August 13th, 13/8. May 18th can also be written 18/5. Donald John Trump in gematria, 185. You know, this date has multiple connections to his full name. And notice the date also leaves 227 days left in the year. We'll talk about why 227 makes this date even more intriguing. This year, from the anniversary of the construction start of the Berlin Wall, August 13th to November 9th, was 88 days, or 2 months and 27 days, 227 again. Trump alone is 88. Remember, the Republican Party is also 88. The Democratic Party is 87. Clinton, 87. This number 227, 227 days left in the year, 2 months, 27 days. 227 connects to pi, like cycles and circles. Throughout history, pretty much every president that has died in office, Their death is connected to the number 44 and 227. Even presidents who've survived assassination attempts. 22 divided by 7 gives you pi. When you write out 22 divided by 7, it sums to 314. Pi is 3.14. Just put a decimal point there, and it's perfect. Trump, he went to Fordham University. He began there in 64. Remember, Trump equals 88. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 spaces on the chessboard. 8 plus 8 is 16. Trump elected in 16. Fordham's the Jesuit University. Donald Trump, a Jesuit. The Masonic secret society within the Catholic Church. May 18th, 2017. When you write this out as a date, it sums to 148. Important number to Donald Trump. One of his nicest buildings. The one where the commercials filmed. The Serta mattress commercial from 2010. It's filmed at this hotel. Trump International Hotel and Tower. 148. His first book, The Art of the Deal. 148. And his author name on that book is Donald J. Trump, the way he does it. 148. And remember, Donald Trump is also 48 like Wall, that 48 sequence. May 18th, gematria of 68. Donald Trump 48, Donald John Trump 68. It's been 48 years since 1968. Again, that's the year 911 was made, the National Emergency Dialing Code. World Trade Center construction began in New York. And George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones, the Masonic Order. 33 years later is 2001. False flag equals 33. Bonesman equals 33. George W. Bush was a bonesman, Skull and Bones. George W. Bush has birth numerology of 33, being born July 6, 1946. From his birthday to September 11th is a span of 68 days. It's the year MLK was assassinated, Bobby Kennedy, both murdered by the numbers, by the number 44, the kill number. See my work on their deaths. Malcolm X died by that number. Abraham Lincoln, first president to die in office, William Henry Harrison. So many more. May 18th, 2017 will also be a date with a life lesson number of 33. That's what we're looking at. Possible day that Donald Trump could bite the dust. JFK, the last president to die in office, spoke at the Berlin Wall just before his assassination. Berlin equals 33, Kennedy 33. He was killed on 11/22 in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree master mason. Zapruder film made by a 33rd degree master mason. Zapruder was from Russia. Oswald had just come back from Russia, the Soviet Union. JFK had just given a speech over there. Berlin Wall, World War II. Think about Donald Trump again with Russia, with Putin. During the debates, Hillary talking about, maybe Trump has a strategic alliance going on with Russia that he's trying to hide. These are all just narratives, riddles, reminders of the past. This is why they say history repeats itself. They say the victors write the history books. Remember, the word victor equals 33. Remember, the word Freemason has the same gematria as history. We talked about how the start of the wall in Berlin was August 13th. Just show you this. From the start of the wall to the assassination of JFK in the middle of Dealey Plaza was 831 days. Berlin Wall equals 45, Dealey Plaza equals 45, Sagittarius equals 45, JFK killed on the first day of Sagittarius. 831, the reflection of 138. When you add those two numbers together, 138 and 831, it sums to 969. 969. Saturn, to the occult, is the keeper of time. There's something called the magic square of Saturn, and its sum is 45. So 45 is associated with Saturn, the keeper of time. Talking about Berlin Wall, Dealey Plaza, Trump the 45th president, first day of Sagittarius. Saturn supposedly travels at a speed of 9.69 kilometers a second. It's orbital speed of the sun. So we're told. 969. These numbers, they get their significance these numbers that we talk about that are coded, they all have significance in this world, and they're coded in ritualistic fashion in essentially an esoteric secret language. Tributes to time, people dying by the same numbers and the same patterns, recreating history, manipulating people with the same type of events, rehashed. In the Zapruder film, which was made by a 33rd degree master Freemason from the Soviet Union, it's slide 313 that shows JFK's head coming apart. John F. Kennedy equals 131, 313, 131. JFK, the only Catholic president, Catholic equals 35. JFK, the 35th president. He was also the 44th term president. Right now we have the first Jesuit pope, Jesuits Catholic Church. He was made pope on March 13th, 313. We have this Jesuit pope. We have this Jesuit president now, Trump, coming. Very possible Obama's a Jesuit right now. He's got the Jesuit coating all over him, as we've talked about. But anyway, this is how it is. Just, coded to the teeth all throughout history by the same numbers again and again, and we're living it out right now. We're being mocked with the Donald Trump staged and planned presidency. And now we're being mocked with Obama talking about Donald Trump and NATO and World War in Germany. They're treating the people of the world as if they're idiots. And, the thing about this world, the way they built it, is they have everybody so busy. Everybody's just so busy. They don't even really have time to think about anything. They're just in a steady grind. People need to stop for a second and think about what is really going on right now. So here's a recent article. This was written November 9th, 2016, 11/9. The all-seeing Simpsons predicted Donald Trump's presidency in 2000. This is written by Time. All-seeing Simpsons. Remember how we talked about how Springfield's 119, all-seeing eye equals 119, Star of David, Master Plan, Springfield 119. There's this old cartoon, Simpsons 9/11 predictive programming. The World Trade Centers look like big 11s. New York's the 11th state. The first plane that supposedly hit the buildings was flight AA-11. A's the first letter, AA-1111. The all-seeing Simpsons equals 88, like Trump. The media is always coding out. This gang uses this language. This episode was called Bart to the Future. Remember, in Back to the Future, they time travel at 88 miles per hour. Donald Trump's followed by Lisa Simpson as the first president. Lisa Simpson has gematria 47 like president. Donald Trump in the 47-floor tall building. The night of the election, Midtown Hilton Hotel, 47 floors. This episode came out on March 19th, 2000. Date with 42 numerology. Donald Trump versus the first female nominee, Hillary Clinton. March 19th can be written 19/3, which is the 44th prime number. Trump's the 45th president, but the 44th man to be president. And real quick, on that note, at the beginning of Obama's administration, the birther argument came out, Trump versus Obama, birther 44, Obama the 44th president, Trump the 44th man to be president. 44 connecting these men. Now we're going to transition from Obama to Trump. Remember, Obama elected the 44th president 44 years after the Civil Rights Act. Barack Hussein Obama's civil rights. You know who signed the Civil Rights Act? Lyndon B. Johnson. You know how people say Barack's real name is Barry? They say his name is Barry Soetoro. Barry 64. What did Barry run on? Remember how he ran on hope? Number 44. So anyway, 193 is the 44th prime. Trump's the 44th man to be president. There were 44 kings of Israel. If you never noticed before, Jerusalem has a USA right in the middle. 7/4/1776, date of independence, date with 104 numerology. The word Jerusalem equals 104 in gematria. And right now in this moment in history, we're giving Israel a record $104 million per day. That's the same as $38 billion a year. $104 million a day for Jerusalem, with USA right in the middle. Show you something else about The Simpsons. Last year, July 7th, 2015, they put out this episode called Trumptastic Voyage. I want to show you what's so interesting about this episode. The name of it sums to 235, and all year I've been showing predictive programming for a Trump assassination with the numbers 2, 3, and 5 encoded. Those are the first 3 prime numbers. And recently there was the story about Hinckley being released from his mental institution, the man who tried to assassinate Reagan at 2:27 in the afternoon on March 30th, 1981. That was a date with 114 numerology, President of the United States. It was also a date with 133 numerology, White House, government. They said Donald Trump was the 133rd richest man in the world when he began running for president, according to Forbes. Anyway, where Hinckley got released to, where he has to stay, the town, it has gematria of 235. I thought that was interesting when it came out. Presidential assassin. That story was from a few months ago. All year they've been coding this number next to Trump. If you've never seen my video on Bill Clinton's biological father and his mysterious death, Bill Clinton was born Bill Blythe. His biological father died by the numbers and took on the name Clinton. Anyway, his death connected to this number. Many of other videos I've done over the years, this number's popped up. Here it is coded into the title, Trumptastic Voyage. And in this episode, Homer Simpson, he goes swimming through Donald Trump's hair. And for some reason, they have these big words there, Trump skull. And here's what's so interesting about that. Trump skull equals 163, like Make America Great Again, like Barack Hussein Obama. And think about this transition of power from Obama to Trump, who's running with the red hat, Make America Great Again. 163, the 38th prime number. Change equals 38, running as a change candidate. So does death, so does killing. 38 and 44, numbers that show up around death all the time. We already covered 44. They made this episode 84 seconds long. United States of America equals 84. The Twilight Zone equals 84. Serling equals 84. The writer of the Twilight Zone. States equals 84. Jesuit 84. Obama 84. Obama's birthday August 4th. Donald Trump began his presidential campaign in Arizona. Arizona equals 84. The only other state that does is Arkansas. It's not a coincidence they made this 84 seconds. Trump the Jesuit. Remember, Donald Trump equals 48, the reflection of 84. Arizona, where he began his campaigns, also the 48th state. From the day he started his campaign, June 16, 2015, to voting day, 511 days. He's going to become president with the 115th Congress. 511 connects to Saturn, the keeper of time, as well. Remember the Reno, Nevada assassination attempt on November 5th. Remember, the 5th of November. Date can be written 5/11. So Trumptastic Voyage has that very interesting Trump skull. And I mean, you just think, makes you think of presidential assassinations. Lincoln, JFK, shot in the head. Many more. If you haven't seen my video on the sheep commercial with Trump, it starts with this shot of his hotel, Trump International Hotel and Tower. 148, just like the coding on May 18th, 2017, which we decoded at the beginning. If you watch this commercial, he only talks to 2 sheep with numbers. He talks to number 1, he talks to number 9. Look at POTUS for President of the United States, 19. In this commercial, he talks about born for the job. 11-9, where we began with the Donald coding. Donald, announced on November 9th. In that commercial, he's got on this outfit, Here At the end of this commercial, he gives the sheep a thumbs up. Look at this shot right here. It's almost the exact same thing from the commercial. If you want to watch the commercial right now, just go to YouTube, search Donald Trump CERTA, S-E-R-T-A, ad. It'll pop right up. It's 30 seconds long. It's from 2010. CERTA in gematria sums to 63. That's the year JFK was assassinated in Dealey Plaza. if you count every number up to 63 and add them together, they sum to 2016, like the year we're in. So there it is, Truth Seeker. That's the reason Obama is in Berlin talking about this. It's all a puppet show. These are the people who sell us out down the path of agenda, mocking us all the way. We got to wake up, you know? If we don't wake up, what's going to happen is so many people are just going to grind their life away until the day it's too late, you know? Then what? That's not a regret you want to have. And I got to plug it again, Truth Seeker, because we got to get this mission accomplished. This has to be accomplished right here. We need to get the Truth Seeker network revolution out there as big as we can. This page is going slow. No wonder nobody's donating. I'm trying to pull up the donation page here. My goodness. You know, did you guys just hear that beep? That's funny. Right as I did that, somebody just donated $5. Maybe only one person can be on there at a time. But look, I'm grateful for everyone who's donated, but we need to get this money bigger to make this project happen the way it needs to. You know, this needs to go viral. We get this website built as good as it's going to be. It's so close to being finished. If we can get a nice, sharp ad to promote the message, to get more awareness, you know, what we can do is bring this all to an end. Enough with the puppet show, enough with the lesser of two evils, you know, the scripted elections, the mocking, the repeating of history by the numbers intentionally. I mean, think about this. Today, our tax dollars, they paid for an airplane to send Obama over to Berlin so he could be over there, essentially mocking us. Think about how much money was spent on that. How many taxpayer dollars for the Air Force One and all the security, all the people inconvenienced, all the police, you know? Could have already funded probably the Truth Seeker Network revolution 1,000 times over for how much we just paid with our tax dollars to send Obama across the ocean from Berlin to just, you know, go with this whole this grand mocking. All this money spent on election, all the people drive into the booth to cast a vote to validate the lie, you know? Everybody's got their dollars for that, their time and their energy for that. They all want to go be part of the lie, deceive themselves, vote for the lesser of two evils. You want to change this world, do something bigger and better, donate to this. This is the campaign to get the network built, to get us all organized, cooperating, working together, finding common ground, and putting an end to the tyranny. Truth Seeker Network Revolution. The website's coming soon. You know, the more money we raise, the bigger we can get it out there. Until next time, Truth Seekers.